I've missed you guys, and I sure hope everybody's doing well at home. Today I thought we would make a recipe. I thought we would make some slime, and this recipe is super easy. You probably have these things at your house. It only takes 3 ingredients, and it's things that you probably have, and if you don't have, your parents could get it very easy at the store, your parents or whoever you live with, and these things are very cheap. That's what I like about it. So all you'll need is a small thing of Jell-O, any kind, Jell-O instant pudding, and this is a big one, but all we're gonna measure out is 1/4 of a cup. So if you just have a small thing of Jell-O pudding, any kind, any flavor that you would like. You also are going to need some cornstarch. So we have a box of cheap cornstarch, and the only other ingredient is going to be water. So first we're going to write down our recipe, and I'm going to let you guys help me with my sounds and help me write the recipe first, so that way we can follow the recipe. So at the top, we're going to put that we're making slime. So let's think about the sounds in the word slime. Slime, but sl is tricky because it's actually 2 sounds, isn't it? It's actually sl. Think, how do we spell sl? It's 2 sounds together. It's actually S and L together. Very good. I think you remembered that. Sl, I, Remember, we write what we hear. But when I go back to read that word, I'm reading sl, What do I need to make the I say his name? That's right. I need tricky E, don't I? Tricky E on the end. So now when I go back and read the word, I can read I'm slime. Very good. Now I need to write down my 3 ingredients for slime. The first thing we're going to need is 1/4 of a cup. Now that's not a whole cup. That's how I write a fraction. 1/4 cup, up. Say the sounds in cup. Up, up. And we're gonna write what we hear. How do I spell cup? C, U. How do we spell p? P. Very good. 1/4 cup of Jell-O pudding. Pudding mix. Mix is another word that you can say the sounds and write what you hear. X. So that's my first ingredient. 1/4 cup of pudding mix. My second ingredient is going to be 1 cup. I already know how to write cup. Of cornstarch. 1 cup of cornstarch. Corn. You can say the sounds in corn. Corn. How do we spell cup? C. How do we spell or? Very good. O-R. Orn. How do we spell n? N. Very good. 1 cup corn starch. That's one of those tricky words, but we can use our sounds to help us write it. Starch. How do we spell st? Remember, it's also 2 sounds together. What 2 sounds? S and t. Very good. An R in the middle of the word. How do we spell it? It needs a vowel. Very good. A-R. R. Ch. I know we know how to spell ch. C-H. Very good. 1/4 cup of pudding mix. 1 cup of cornstarch. And our last ingredient is 1/3 cup of warm. What's the first sound you hear? Very good. W. Warm. This is one of those tricky words. Warm water. How do we spell what? Very good. Water. There's our ingredients for slime. Only those 3 things. 1/4 cup of pudding mix, 1 cup of cornstarch, 1/3 cup of warm water. Now we get to start making our slime. Emerson is going to help me. First we need to pour 1/4 pudding mix in. So I have to measure out 1/4. So I have my measuring spoons and my measuring cups here to help me measure. I need 1/4. I'm gonna find it right here in my measuring cup. It's at the very bottom, 1/4. So Emerson, you stop me when you see me get to 1/4.
I think it already is.
Are we there yet? Let's look. Yes, right at 1/4. Would you like to pour that in our bowl? We just need a big bowl to mix it in and a big spoon. Now, we also need 1 cup of cornstarch. 1 whole cup, but we're not gonna pour the whole cup in at the same time. Now, Emerson, does that look like it's up here to 1 cup?
Mm-hmm.
You see 1 cup at home? Now, our pudding was only 1/4 of a cup. Which is more, Emerson? Which did we need more of? The cornstarch or the pudding?
This one.
The cornstarch is more. So you can see that on your cup at home. That's more. So we needed more cornstarch. Now here's a little bit of a tricky part. Right now we're only going to pour in half of it. The recipe says to only use half of it. So half of that would just be half a cup for right now. So Emerson, we're just going to pour in half of that. We're going to save the rest of it for when we need it in just a minute. Now we need 1/3 cup of warm water. I want to make sure it's warm. So I'm going to let this get warm for just a second. Does it feel like it's getting warm? There we go. What have you guys been doing at home this week? I hope you've been watching our YouTube channel. I hope you've been practicing your sight words. Okay, now it's warm. And I just need 1/3 of a cup. So Emerson, would you like to pour that in for us? Pour it in. And then the recipe says we're gonna start mixing. So Emerson and I are gonna start mixing it together. Now, the recipe says when we start, it's gonna be pretty sticky and it's gonna be actually kind of dry. Okay, Emerson, would you like to keep mixing? Then it says once it gets a little hard to mix, to start adding some more of the cornstarch slowly. So we're gonna slowly add a little more of our cornstarch. Okay, now, the recipe said for you to kind of play around with it. And if you thought it was a little dry, that you might need to add a little more water. Now, as you can see, mine looks a little bit dry, so we're gonna add a little bit more water to ours. Just a little bit at a time. Gonna add a little more water to it. But you can play around with yours at home, and if it looks too dry, you can add a little more water. And if it looks too sticky, you can add more cornstarch. Then it says, right when it gets too hard to stir with the spoon, that's when you get to put your hands in it and start kneading it like bread dough with your hands. And this should probably just take a few minutes to kind of knead it around like dough. See what I'm doing here with my hands? Okay. We're just kind of kneading it. You can see how this piece that I've been kneading with my hands, it's getting more like slime. And when we're finished, we just have a good piece of almost like, we're calling it slime, but to me it's almost like a little like Play-Doh. And you can keep kneading it. And there's something special about this. This is actually edible. You remember we talked about what edible means? Does anybody remember at home? Emerson, what does edible mean?
It means that you can eat it.
Yes, it means you can eat it. Now, it may not taste very good. You probably wouldn't want to eat the whole thing. But if your parents said you could try just a little bit. Now, something else we can do with our slime when you're finished is you can sit it on a plate and press it down, and you can practice writing your sight words in it. You can practice writing numbers in it. You can practice writing letters in it for your name. And then when you're finished with it, let's see, Emerson, why don't you write a big E in it for Emerson? When you're finished, you can put it in a Ziploc bag, and you can keep it in your refrigerator and have it to use for a few days. I sure do love you guys, and I hope to see you guys soon. Enjoy your slime.